Hey guys, this is 1 to 1 Gigawatts. This is our first podcast. This is episode 1. And this week's topic is games that define the decade. What we mean by that is essentially games that we feel, it doesn't matter if we thought it was, if we personally don't like the game, because it's not about that. It's what we feel has really sort of made the industry the way it is and really sort of defined the way games have sort of been done. And what I mean by that is it's like perhaps there's a certain mechanic in a game that's really sort of pushed the way forward in that genre, or perhaps it's influenced the industry in other ways. But we'll talk about that when we get to it. But yeah,
Indeed.
this is our first podcast. So first of all, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be covering the news stories of the week.
New year, new fresh take on it.
Exactly, New Year.
Hopefully it's better than last year.
Yeah, New Year, new us, I guess. But yeah, we'll be covering the news in games, film, and anime, and basically just giving our sort of 2 cents on it and what we think. Yeah, so shall we get first? If you want, you can also follow our Twitter at 1to1gigawatts.gg. You can follow us on there. Be much appreciated if you do. We'll be posting like I don't know, like when we're
Just take a bit of time out, guys, from stalking your favorite celebrities.
yeah,
And,
exactly.
and follow us instead.
Yeah, and stalk us instead. Actually, no, don't stalk us, please. But yeah, follow us instead. So yeah, you can follow us on Twitter. So let's dive straight into the first topic, shall we? So the first topic of the week, film and TV, is Jodie Whittaker leaving Doctor Who. What are your opinions?
I mean, shall I fill this one? Because obviously I've got
go.
more history with
Yeah,
Doctor Who.
go for it, yeah.
Okay, like I was expecting this because usually doctors in the new series tend to leave after 3 seasons. It's common for even the older doctors. It's something that Peter Davison told Tennant to do, leave after 3. I think 3 is fine. I think 3 covers a lot of bases. It's a good run. Obviously, Capaldi did it, Matt Smith did it, Tennant did it, and I think that it is time for her to probably bow out because, like, I feel so bad for Jodie Whittaker because I don't hate her Doctor. And I don't hate the series that she's done so far, the last 2. I enjoyed her second season more than her first one, to be honest. Like, her first season had moments, but...
I think everyone's first season of Doctor Who is kind of the roughest one because it's them introducing themselves as that Doctor. It's like the second and third season where they take their stride. And like I haven't watched Doctor Who in a long time because for me, Doctor Who died when the writing staff decided that they don't want to try anymore.
It's like I agree with you. Like out of all the seasons, Capaldi's first season is easily the worst out of the revived series.
Yeah.
But he's my favorite Doctor of the revived series, which is weird.
Yeah.
But like I say,
yeah,
I don't hate her. Like I thought she was a good choice. I like a lot of the stuff she does with it. My biggest problem with this new Doctor Who is that it's just I think it was a mistake trying to make it a educational show again. Too much history episodes. And it's not what kids really are getting behind, really. So I can understand. But yeah, I don't think it's like a bad thing that she's going. Like maybe it's time for to get someone new back in. But like
yeah. To be honest, like I haven't watched Doctor Who in a long time, so I honestly don't really know how the series are going. But from what I can tell and what I've heard, that they've gone real downhill. And I don't think it's really the actor's fault because sometimes you can blame the actor them of not being probably. And when I say not blame the actor, I mean maybe they weren't directed properly, or perhaps they weren't given enough instruction. And there is actors who are good actors, and we know the good actors, but there is some roles that they do awful in, and that's simply because of the direction, the writing, the behind the scenes stuff that we don't know about, which is affecting their performance. And I think.
Yeah, go on, continue. Go on.
I was going to say, I think in this case as well, especially with Doctor Who, I do not think the people they're casting are bad doctors themselves. They're not bad actors, and the problem is that they're just not being written well, and they're not being given enough good material to go off. And I think there's only so much you can do with the little direction that you're given. And I'm not behind the scenes in Doctor Who. I don't know everything what's going on there. But from what I can tell and what I remember from when I used to watch it is that the episodes were just really badly written. They just weren't good. Like their story just wasn't entertaining. It didn't flow very well. They had a lot of problems. And I think a big thing that's annoyed me about Doctor Who in the last like 3 or 4 seasons, well actually I'd say 3 seasons, is that the assistants just aren't good. Like they're just not. They don't work
Yeah, this
well.
TARDIS is too busy. Like, and
Yeah.
also obviously a lot of them are leaving as well. So
Yeah.
I think it's time to, like, for me personally, take a break from Doctor Who. Maybe give it another 3-4 years before it comes back, and let
Yeah.
people actually want it back.
Yeah. I think
Like,
they should do a they should really give it a rest and just or at least change up the staff. They need to change up the writing staff.
yeah,
They need to change up the directors, the producers, whoever is running the show. They need to do a great big haul and just sort of change it around because it seems like it's just stagnated right now. Like they've just gotten to a point now where they can't progress, and that's a problem basically.
let someone who actually wants to do it
Yeah,
make it, and like
exactly.
give it a break, because in this climate of TV, like, it really has no real place at the minute. Like,
And there's so many
it's,
people that would love to write a Doctor Who episode. I'm sure I can't remember exactly which director is it. Is it Peter Jackson?
that was a story from years ago. All he wants is a Dalek, but that was a funny story. But
Yeah, but doesn't he actually? Isn't he really into like? He says, "I want to
oh yeah,
write a
he's
Doctor Who
big
episode."
human. There's loads of people who would love to do it. Like I say, I say
There
just
you go. Why
take a
couldn't you just
break.
get these people to do it? Yeah, they're doing the work for you. Like it's like
I don't know. It's because it's the BBC. It's a whole different, like. It's not exactly like asking ITV. It's different, like
yeah, well,
BBC.
yeah, because it's obviously BBC is it's owned by us. We own it. Like technically speaking, it's not owned by a corporation. It's owned by the people. Like theoretically speaking, I mean, it's not technically true, but
That's what I mean. It's like,
but
so. I
in
say
the
just let it
broadest
have a rest.
in the broadest sense, it is owned by the British public, right? It's
Yeah.
publicly owned. It's not in the same sense like a company's publicly owned. It's owned in the sense that the taxpayers' money gets paid towards making it what it is. So
Well, let's not get caught into our bullshit like television practices, and
yeah,
I think
of
that's
course.
all.
I thought I'd just mention it just to give people clarification. Well, I think really that's all I've got really to say on Doctor Who.
Yeah, it's like, look, I had a feeling that she was going to leave. I had a feeling that's going to come soon, so that's all I've got to say. I think it's probably best that she leaves, because I think after 3 seasons, it's enough, and
Yeah.
I think the show needs a break, not from like anyone particular, just a break from being around, because like it's clearly just people aren't bothered
Yeah.
making it or otherwise, like.
Well,
So give it a break. Let people actually like want it back.
here's a
So.
question before we jump onto the new subject. Who would you want to be as a doctor, as the next doctor, if you could choose?
I have no idea. You've put me on the spot there. Like,
Just throw out a name.
James Nesbitt or something like that.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
I honestly think they should shake it up a lot. Maybe bring in like
Well, we don't know. Like I say, we don't know.
I know the thing is that he's kind of a too high profile actor now, so to really get him into it. But Benedict Cumberbatch could have been potentially a good doctor.
That's an obvious one, and he said he would never do it anyway.
I know he said, but if he wasn't as high profile as he is now, and they caught him just after Sherlock, I think he would have done it.
I don't know, but there's plenty of other people that could do it. But yeah.
Oh yeah, this course. That was just the one that came to the top of my head as somebody that could have potentially made it work. Right.
Yeah.
Anyways, on to the next topic. So, wait, why isn't my Huh.
What?
Okay. Oh, I'm using the wrong fucking one. Oh, okay, my bad. I was like, wait. No, this is fine. I'll leave it in.
Okay. I need to play the elevator music just while I sort this shit out.
Hang on, I fucked it up. Wait, that's the outline. Hang on. Okay, there we go. Okay.
So it's just one of it, not all.
There we go. Fucked it up. Okay, so next subject is the new Uncharted movie has gotten some fresh new images of what the set looks like and what the actors look like playing them, which is
well, it's mainly just set photos. Like,
yeah,
we already know
it's just set photos,
right?
but it's pretty exciting because we've heard about this movie being made for so long.
I mean, is it going to be a Mad Max Fury Road thing, or is it going to be everything else that's in production hell thing?
I mean, realistically, do I think it's going to be a good movie? I think it will be fine. I don't think it will be good, but I don't think it will be terrible.
I think it's going to be bad. I think it's almost going to be as bad as Tomb Raider.
Oh, really?
Simply because of the rule. Right, you got to think, Tom. What is Uncharted movie going to offer you that Indiana Jones can't?
Very true. Well, Uncharted basically is Indiana Jones. It's just a video game version of it.
It's just a modern Indiana Jones. I'm like, what is that? Especially the National Treasure. That's all we're watching. It's just Tom Holland is playing it instead of Nicolas Cage. I'd rather watch Nicolas Cage do it. Like, the movie looks good. Like, it looks like it's shot well, and all these images look fine. But I'm like, I don't get, like, why, what Like, what is a new Uncharted movie going to offer me that I could just watch Indiana Jones with? Nothing. So this is what I mean. Like, there's no magic in it because we always find out that it's more of a science thing.
Yeah, basically, I'm just looking at the shots right now. Right, all the photos that they've posted. So they posted the one of Tom Holland, which is this one. I think everyone's kind of seen this one. But then they posted two other ones, and there's like a map which gives us no context for anything, and then a hand.
There's another two as well where it's just the dagger and like this ship set.
Hang on, let's see if I can find any more. Hang on.
But yeah, it's like I just don't care. Like I like Uncharted.
Okay, here we go. Oh, there's also a photo with Nolan North in it.
Yeah, because I'm sure he's consulting on it, but
yeah, more than likely. Okay, so there's like one with a dagger in like a.
I mean, I like how they're doing it all practical.
Oh yeah,
I like that.
Same.
I also don't want the movie to be adapting one of the movies. I want it to do its own thing.
Yeah. I think it should take inspiration from. I think it is. Wait, is that Nathan Drake? Sorry, not Nathan Drake. Sir Francis Drake. That looks like Sir Francis Drake.
Probably.
So they are basically just doing the first movie. Also, that if you look at this set here, that kind of looks like one of the levels from the game. So yeah. Maybe they are just adapting this game straight into film, which I don't have a problem with. If they do it correctly, then it could work very well. I honestly would like to see Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg's performance. I want to see.
I need to actually see what Mark Wahlberg looks like in.
Same. I want to see what he looks like because like that's like the big thing with me is like, I think with the look of Sully isn't as important. It's his voice. Same with.
Yeah, but you've seen recently Mark Wahlberg do an amazing performance in Pain and Gain. Which
yeah, I have seen him doing. I'm not saying Mark Wahlberg is a terrible actor. Sorry, I was going through there, but I'm not saying he's a terrible actor. I'm just saying that I don't know if he can pull it off, but hey, he could surprise me, right?
But anyway, yeah, that's all I've got really to say on that. Like, it's like I just don't care enough. Like, unfortunately.
Fair enough. Like, I've been waiting for this movie for quite a long time, so I definitely will see it. You know, if cinemas are actually open, but I'll actually.
Well, I'll see it with you, but like I say, I just don't care about a new Uncharted movie because I'm like, this isn't going to offer me anything that like, I haven't seen before.
Okay. Well, we'll go on to the next topic. I mean, really, there's not much to really talk about with the Uncharted movie because we don't know anything about it yet. Yeah. So, but yeah, the images come out, which is pretty cool. So, hey, on to the next topic. So, Disney Plus adding R-rated stuff.
Well, basically adding anything that they've added from.
Hello? Jacob? Hello?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So, tons of new shows and movies, including R-rated content. So, some things like. But look, is that 24? Maybe it's 24, yeah.
So what exactly are they adding? Do you know? Are they giving?
So they're adding a load of stuff from 20th Century Fox, like Family Guy and that. X-Files, Atlanta, Lost, 24 Break. Basically everything I thought they would add, basically.
Okay. Wait, they're adding Lost?
Yeah. Because they own it now, technically.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
So they'll take that off Amazon Prime and put it straight on here. So, yeah. They're basically adding what I thought they would add. So, but that's not even all of it, so... Yeah. Disney Plus might become as big as Netflix at this rate.
Here's an article basically talking about it. So
yeah. I mean, I think Disney should have an R-rated section personally because I think it makes their streaming service more viable to everyone. Because at the minute, it just seems like the kiddie service. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. So apparently, people are thinking that might potentially add Alien and Predator, which I mean, it's possible they could do that.
I guess.
Like... I mean, they do technically own it now.
Yeah.
I mean, they could, but whether they will is completely a different question, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and Deadpool 3. Yeah, shit, they own Deadpool 3, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and Deadpool 1 and 2, of course. I completely forgot they owned that. But yeah, there's a story if anyone wants to check it out. But I mean, there's not really that much to really talk about with that, really, because it's just a rumor, isn't it? At the end of
like I say, it's more of an official, like, it is an announcement. Like, I think they will do it, but like, it's just kind of cool. Like,
yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Well, it's a good move on their part to start adding stuff like that because they do own it and they're losing money on licenses that they don't want to put out because of their like quote unquote image, right? So
I mean, everyone's wanted to put everything on streaming for now anyway, so now
we'll have to just wait. We'll just have to wait and see, basically. Wait and see what they put out. All right, on to the next topic. So apparently Netflix is rumored to be making an Elder Scrolls TV show, which, to be honest, doesn't actually surprise me. Whether
No.
though that is actually true or not is a different question. We'll have to obviously wait for an official announcement from Netflix or Bethesda. So yeah, what do you think? Do you think it'll happen? Do you think it's legit?
I think it'll happen because obviously The Witcher happened, and I didn't think that would fucking happen.
Mm.
Well, The Witcher's different. Like the reason why The Witcher worked as a TV series because it had books as well as
Yeah.
video games. Like the reason why I don't think Elder Scrolls work at all is because only if it's done like Castlevania, where they take very little and make all their own stuff up, is because Elder Scrolls lore is nonsense.
Yeah.
It just is. It's nonsense because it's written by people who aren't writers. So it's usually just made up. Like everything's just a convenience of the video game. Whereas with Witcher, it's based on books that you can take more off than the video game. The video game is just where they got the look from, really.
Yeah.
Like they weren't going to make Geralt look like he was because they've already got a reference for that. Like
yeah.
So,
they use the game as basically as a visual reference, and the book has the actual reference to the story.
Yeah, exactly. Like whereas Elder Scrolls, it's got 5 games, but 5 games where there's barely any story. You just go around in a world that pre-exists. Like, what can you make out of that?
Yeah.
There's no story really to tell.
Well, so, I think as well with Elder Scrolls is that every game is its own self-contained thing.
Exactly. Like, there's no real sequel. So, like, what were they going to start with? One from Skyrim?
They make casual references to other games and like other scenarios in other games, but they never really directly make it a sequel. Like, I guess technically speaking, the online game is a sequel, but even then, that's not really a sequel either. It's just another region, right? If I remember.
Exactly. Like, I'm sorry for annoying Elder Scrolls fans, but come on, guys. Like, do you really honestly play Elder Scrolls for the story? Do you honestly play Oblivion and then getting thrown in Patrick Stewart's boring ass monologue, and then just are ecstatic that you can actually play the fucking game without having dialogue?
For me personally, the only reason I played Elder Scrolls was simply for the gameplay, and I think that's what most people played it for, right? Like,
I don't give a fuck about Skyrim's story because there is no story. Like, it's just there's the evil dragons that show up, and it's just a pretext for the dragons to keep showing up. That's it.
Yeah, that's basically it. Like, it's evil dragons are showing up, but why is that? I don't know, the fucking necromancer or some shit.
It's just an excuse for the dragons to actually be around when they weren't in the other games. That's all it is. It's a pretense. It's a pretense. That's all it is. So I don't think it can make a good one unless they just basically just make up their own shit, which is basically going to just be Lord of the Rings or Warhammer cross. So, you know, why not? So I don't think it's going to work unless they do a Castlevania style thing, but that's just me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll have to wait and see what they do with it, right? Because
it's too early to tell that.
It's too early to tell right now because we don't know if they are actually going to make their own original story, which I really hope they do. Or if they are going to try and adapt the game or whatever they're going to do, right? We're going to have to wait and see what they announce, if it gets announced. So
that's what I mean. So
it could be complete rubbish, and it could be a complete lie, and there might be not anything. Netflix might not have any plans at all to do it, and it could just be one of those cases where, like, obviously a rumors come out and people are like jumping on it.
This is why I'm not so bothered about a Lord of the Rings TV series getting made, because Lord of the Rings has so much good content left to do.
Yeah.
So that I can
buy.
Lord
of the Rings they could definitely do a lot with, because it's got so many books, it's got so many things, it's got so much material that they can run off, right? The Elder Scrolls, yes, does it have material? Sure, of course it does. It has many games, right? But how they turn that into...
the setting... The setting isn't a story, it's a framework. It's like, this is the world you're in, like, and you make your own story.
That's the thing with Elder Scrolls, right? This is the big difference between Elder Scrolls or The Witcher. The Witcher's got books, and it's already got a contained story that's already been established. And with Elder Scrolls, you're right. It's just a placeholder. They have a story there as a side thing. The main reason you play Elder Scrolls is for the gameplay, right? It's supposed to be an RPG where you make your own story. So that's kind of the point of it. It's like, is there a main story? Of course there is. There is in every game. But it's not that important.
No, not important.
It's like,
this is what I mean,
most people don't even do the main story until way later on. Like, I think I didn't.
No, like I know that
I was already nearly max level. And I just fucking one-shotted the dragon. But
that's what most people do.
Yeah, exactly. It's just how it is with Elder Scrolls, right? It's that you don't I mean, some people do play for the story, but most people don't really play it for that. They play it for the gameplay and the immersion. That's what I played it for when it came out. But yeah, I think that's basically more or less it with with this one, because there's not much really to go on, because it's just, as I said, it's just a rumor. So until we get actual confirmation, It's going to remain as a rumor. So anyway, on to the next topic. Well, not the next topic, but the next their news article in Film and TV is a Resident Evil reboot. The Resident Evil reboot movie has finished filming. Now, I didn't even know this was being rebooted until 2 days ago.
Wait, it's filming? Hang on, I'll.
Yeah, apparently the movie has finished filming, and like it's been rebooted. Now, I'm not sure who the director is. I have no idea about this. Like, I only just found this out like a couple of days ago. So
wait, where's the story about this? Like,
hang on, let me just find it.
because I haven't seen like this.
It comes out in 2021.
Right.
And hang on.
Who's the director? Hang on, I'll Google it. Hang on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, hang on. Let me just swip to here. So, yeah, okay. Yeah, the Resident Evil reboot has wrapped up its production. That's a rapping record. So we've got the official Twitter announcing it.
Right, the guy who directed it hasn't directed anything worth note, so...
Okay, I don't know who the hell this is. Who is he? What's he directed? Hang on, let me just quickly...
He's directed nothing that I know, so
All
it's
right.
basically just... I reckon it's going to be another, like, just low-budget horror movie that just happens to be called Resident Evil.
Okay, 47...
This could almost be as bad as the first one, so...
Storage 24... What the... I have never heard any of these movies. These look like low-budget horror movies.
Exactly, so... I don't know any of
to be fair, like, he could be a very good director, but I do not know anything about him. Roadkill.
Like I say, I mean...
Damned. I feel like I've heard of that movie before.
I mean, look, I don't care enough about Resident Evil movies to be excited because, you know, it's Resident Evil. Evil.
I didn't even fucking put the... So, yeah. I forgot that I didn't even put my screen. So, yeah, here's the article, if anyone wants to find it out. Here is the official Twitter announcing it as well, that it has finished filming. The guy who directed it, this guy has done nothing of that is really noteworthy.
Nothing that we know.
Nothing that we really know of. Nothing that really stands out to us. So
I mean, this movie might make him arrive, but I doubt it.
I mean, for all we know, this movie could be fucking fantastic. And do you know what? I really hope for his sake it is. But I'm not expecting too much.
I'm gonna say the same thing I did about Elder Scrolls. Resident Evil story is dumb, and it always has been dumb. And like, I like the
story for Resident Evil because it's simple, right?
I mean, you've got to run.
Boom, easy.
I think with a movie, you've got to run in with that stupidity, but at the end of the day, they do that in the CGI ones, and it's just the most boring thing ever. So I don't really know if you can do it, Tom. Like, I honestly just don't believe you can. Like,
I think you can. I think it could work. Like, if they do it correctly,
maybe
they can do it. Wrong. Like, it's possible that they can make this a good movie. It's just that for some reason Hollywood chooses not to. So they can. Yeah. They can actually make this a good movie. It's that if the director is a fan of the games and has played them and knows all the characters, knows how the story goes, it could turn out to be a very good film.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not holding my breath because at the end of the day, it's a Resident Evil movie, and from its track records, they have not been very good. So
they have not at all.
We are gonna hold out and we're gonna wait and see. Basically, just like with Netflix's rumor of the Elder Scrolls, we don't know much about it yet, so we're gonna have to wait and see what happens. They'll probably be dropping a trailer for it very soon. Then, if they production.
I think it'll suck. You think it might be good? There you go. That's the end of it.
I don't know. I'm not saying I don't think it will be good. I just say it has potential to be good.
Liar.
You
think it'll be terrible.
But I think it is going to be terrible. Like,
there you go.
I will probably see it, but that's only because I'm a fan. But if you get
as angry as you did with Justice League, I'm gonna call bullshit.
Oh, hang on! They've actually announced. So they've got someone playing Jill.
All the cast have been announced, and I don't know any of them, so that's what it's talking about.
It's announced that they've got Jill, Chris, Claire. Wait, have they got Leon? Yes, they've got Leon.
Oh god, that's going to throw a few fans out the window.
Are they doing 2 and 3 combined? Like, how's this working? Like, what are they doing?
No idea. Apparently, it's the story for the first game. It's based on the second, which doesn't shock me.
Okay. Right. Okay. Well, we'll have to wait and see. This is basically our entire summary of everything. We'll have to wait and see. So, right, let's move on to the next topic. So, now that we've covered film and TV, let's go on to video games.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Cyberpunk 2077.
Sorry, what game is that?
Very funny.
I've never heard of Cyberpunk
So,
2077.
if you've been living under a rock until very recently, Cyberpunk 2077 came out the 10th of December.
What the fuck is this game? Explain. I don't know.
Stop messing around. So, if you've lived under a rock, you would know of Cyberpunk, right?
Don't make fun of my rock.
Okay. You know of Cyberpunk. Came out in December. Came out to an absolute disaster and has been going downhill ever since. So, okay. So when it was released, it was a buggy mess. Like, it was completely a buggy mess. On PC, it was a buggy mess. On console, it's a complete different story. The PC one was buggy and unplayable to that degree. The actual console version is legit unplayable. It is so badly optimized and so badly done that it doesn't even run on the original PS4. Like, if I bought it for my PS4, it would not run at all, because I own an original PS4. I don't know the Pro or anything like that.
And he's not making this up, guys. I watched him play it. Like...
Yeah, I streamed this. I streamed it when it came out, and it was a buggy mess. Like, yeah. I played it on PC, and how many bugs? Like, I think I was running into like at least a bug
it
every
ruined
10 minutes.
Most of your experience. Like, you couldn't get out of the first inciting incident mission.
Do you know what I'm going to quote from? I'm going to quote Angry Joe. Is that the bugs take you out of the experience. You're trying to get immersed into the world and its story, but you can't because the game keeps breaking and bringing you out of it. So every time
I said earlier the other day that like they should have made the bugs part of the story, so it makes you think they're in a Matrix, so they could at least buy them time to like get it fixed.
Yeah, they should have said something like that. They could have just said it's a feature, like every game developer. But no, they.
I mean, everyone at this point, if you're watching this video, because by the time it comes out, knows that they're in the risk of being sued because of the whole PSN store thing. Everyone knows this. This is like old news now.
We're just talking about it because we want to cover it. Is that a lot of things has happened with Cyberpunk 2077. Not only is the game an absolute mess on console, Sony have completely pulled it from from the PlayStation Store. They're also now getting sued now, so it's like it is a bad fucking time for them right now. Like,
and they've got no one else to blame but themselves and kind of the fans for like forcing them to do it. But at the end of the day, like they've lost more by not bringing it out now than if they just delayed it.
Yeah.
When they delayed it, they would have just lost money. Now they've lost pretty much everything: reputation. No one will invest in them anymore. They've lost trust.
Yeah. Well,
and also their money.
Well,
so
from what I've seen, they're being sued by a.
Because like investors expected something and they've not given them.
Yeah,
so
I think they are being sued. They're being sued by a firm, but I'm not sure who the person suing them is. I don't know if it's the firm themselves that are suing them, or if they're just representing a client. But they've not really. A group of investors. Oh, it's a group of investors that are suing them. So it's their own investors that are actually suing them.
I don't blame them because I would, because they've released a buggy mess that we've made no money on. Like, yes, it's made money, but most of that money is going to go back to the investors.
Yeah.
So like, no one will like say CD Projekt Red is like basically, and like I laugh when people say that they're one of the last companies of decent companies like that is still around in game industry. I'm like, but they would have fallen eventually. It just happens. Like, this is what happens in the game industry.
Yeah.
Why is it because they make one game, like Bethesda making Elder Scrolls, they're infallible? They're not.
Every company falls. I mean, I think we should have learnt this years ago, right? Everyone used to say that, but Blizzard was the savior of the industry. Look what happened to Blizzard. They fell straight from grace when they got taken over by Activision. And then
video games aren't exactly like movies or TV or whatever. They're different. They're a different animal. And this is what happens with them. They fall because of the way that the industry works.
Yeah. Is that the games industry it does this to companies, like especially publishers. The whole publisher developer relationship is so toxic that it honestly, I'm surprised it hasn't happened sooner.
I'll give you an analogy to the game industry, Tom. The game industry is like the FIFA cycle. You make a new game, and then the previous people who made it become useless.
Yep,
that's what it is.
That's basically what it is. But yeah, going back to Cyberpunk. Sony.
I mean, look, I don't have any dog in this fight, so
Yeah,
like,
that's fine.
I
That's
say,
fine. Basically, Sony pulled it from the store because of how much of a buggy mess it was, which again doesn't surprise me. Microsoft have kind of done something similar, but not completely. They've kept it up, but they've offered an extended refund policy for it, which basically means if you buy it, you can keep it if you want, but if you want a refund, then that's fine. So unless this game gets fixed pretty soon, it is going to be it. CD Projekt Red's reputation is already down the drain. Like we were talking about
no
this
matter
earlier.
what they do to it,
We were talking about this earlier, right? Is that it's not so much about the game and the money anymore. It's about their reputation. And in this kind of industry, if your reputation is if you have a very good reputation like they did have, you could have done. It doesn't matter. Like people would have bought your game regardless because it's same with Valve, right? Valve still have a very good reputation now. So whatever they release basically is going to sell no matter what. Which means also is that they have to be extra careful because if they do something like this, like a fuck up like CD Projekt Red have, like their reputation's tarnished. It's gone down the toilet, and this could kill them. Like this legit could actually kill their entire company because like the industry is so heavily reliant on its good image, right? It's like you could say, oh yeah, but what about EA and its horrible image? Yeah, EA does have a horrible image, but they have a bunch of loyalists that will continuously buy their games.
Oh yeah,
and
they got people brainwashed.
You got to realize this company saps as much money from its consumers as possible. You don't just pay 40 quid or 50 pounds or 60 pounds or $70 or whatever the amount for the game. They rinse you for as much money as they possibly can before you even load it up, right? So they try and sell you DLC. They try and sell you loot boxes, everything. They make their money from the loot boxes because they know the people who buy it are whales and will keep funding
continue.
Continue. I fucking couldn't speak. Continue to speak like funding their addiction, and that's how they make money. That's how they make money. Like no one, their reputation's in the toilet, but they don't care because they can just sap as much money as they possibly can from their already loyal consumers. That's exactly how EA works.
Like, break out the sight of people that break FIFA. I doubt they'll be watching us, but like, you're brainwashed. Stop it.
Yeah.
Like,
these people are like the definition of casual gamers, right? Is that they know nothing about the industry, so therefore they're going to keep buying FIFA. That's how they make their money. But for companies like CD Projekt Red that are a bit more niche. I say niche as if they're like some indie company. They kind of rely on the reputation to really make their money and to really like be. And if they lose that, they lose everything, which is exactly what they're doing now. And I think this whole lawsuit is really kicking them rather down right now, which we said this is like if they didn't give into pressure and actually just delayed it again and delayed it till next year and actually made a polished game and a finished game, they wouldn't be having these problems right now. It's clear to me this game was not ready at all, very much at all. We said I think we had this discussion, right? Is that I feel like they've done an Anthem, in the sense that Anthem had so much time, so much development time, but they didn't use that entire development time to actually make it. They used it to plan out all their ideas and disagree on ideas. I think that's exactly what's happened. I think they had so many ideas, but when they eventually agreed on what to do, they didn't have as much time as they thought to make it. And I think that's exactly what's happened. I think they've actually only made this game in the last 2 years, and they've not actually been working on it for
I can see
the
that.
last 12, or however long it's been, like 8 or 9 or whatever. They've probably only started making this about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, I can see that, definitely.
I mean, they probably did have assets and everything before that, and they actually probably did make a mock-up for like all their trailers and stuff. But I don't think they actually started making this until about 2 years ago, which explains why it's very unfinished. Because if they had been making it as long as they said they have been, then it wouldn't be this buggy and this broken, especially on the PS4 version, when this was supposed to be made for that fucking generation of console, right?
Yeah.
So that's basically it on Cyberpunk. It's just, it's a buggy mess. They're being sued. Their reps in the toilet.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because just like, guys, this is what happens when you force a game that shouldn't have come out now.
Yeah. Well, the learning curve for this is don't rush a game.
Just be patient.
Just let the developers do their thing, and when they release it, they release it.
Sit down and shut up.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Right. but onto a more lighter story. I don't know if you heard. There's a PlayStation 1 game called Magic Castle that has been finally released after 2 decades of it being in production. So this was an indie game, a PlayStation 1 indie game by a very small Japanese development team. And they never. I can't remember the exact reason why they never finished it. There was a legit reason why they didn't finish it. I think it was like maybe it was. I think it was all their members left. They like all their studios sort of left, and there was one guy left, and he kept on making it and kept on like pushing it. So that is pretty incredible that they finally released it after this time. And I don't know if they actually released it for the PlayStation 1. I think they did. But that's...
I mean, given the fact that it's a PlayStation 1 title that should have come out, like, people love retro stuff. People will buy it.
Yeah.
Like, people will get it. Like, people love that PS1 style of, like...
Yeah.
Like, I know a lot of people that really like that early, like, platformer kind of style where it's, like... It's charming. It's like Mario 64, Rayman. It's like they're getting used to the new style of making games, and it's like it's really cool to see. You know what I mean?
So here you go. This is the game. This is an article that is talking about it. So yeah, Magic Castle. That's crazy. 1998 to 2020. Jesus. That is a.
I'll look at the trailer if I get a second.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, I'm probably not going to play it. I'll be perfectly honest with you, and I don't think most people here are probably going to play either. But it just shows, right? It doesn't matter how old your game is, or how old you think it is, or whatever time it takes. It doesn't matter. You can still release it, even if it is on the original PlayStation, which is 4 consoles behind now. So 4 generations ago.
Oh,
so
good for them.
Like, good for them. Like they finally got round to actually finishing it, and do you know what? I'm sure, like, because of how long it's taken, perhaps this publicity might make the game successful. Who knows, right? Maybe they'll do a release on Steam or something. But you know what? Good for them. Like, I'm glad they've done it. I think this is a nice story to end this section on, isn't it?
Well, is that it for game stories?
That is for game stories. There's nothing really else apart from the Game
It's just
Awards.
been Cyberpunk, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's really been Cyberpunk.
But we'll talk about that when we get to.
And the Game Awards we're going to save for a separate topic, because I think that deserves its own actual big topic discussion because of how much I hate the Game Awards. And I think they're stupid. So we will definitely save that for another day.
Don't get so angry. Like, try some yoga, man. That's it.
Right. Well, that's it for videos. So we move on to our final topic, which is anime.
So there's so much sequels coming out this season.
Right. So anime, there is kind of really only one thing, and there is, well, I guess there's technically another topic too.
We'll have a separate video on like new anime coming out.
Yeah, we're gonna do that.
There's a lot of second seasons, which is both a good and bad thing. But yeah, so this story about Demon Slayer is slaying the Japanese box office. I mean, I've always found. I've already just noticed that. I'm like,
I thought I'd throw that one in. But yeah, Demon Slayer is crushing the Japanese box office right now. I don't know if that is due to restrictions on films coming out, or if that is legit because of just how big it's gotten. But this story comes from Anime News Network, and apparently for the 12th straight week, for the 12th weekend in a row, it is basically number one. Oh my god, Frank, can you please stop going off?
Taking away from Tom's phone a second. So I'm looking at the list of the highest grossing movies, and obviously Demon Slayer and Spirited Away are the 2 top ones. But after that, it's Titanic, Frozen, and then Your Name, and then Harry Potter number 1, like the first Harry Potter, is still their best one.
Wow.
Like, that's very strange.
Yeah.
Even Avatar's up there. Avatar's their 11th highest grossing movie.
Really? Well, that's pretty crazy. But yeah,
a lot of Disney stuff and all that.
I'm not surprised. But the fact that Demon Slayer is now the biggest high-engrossing movie in Japan ever is pretty incredible. Bear in mind that the previous first place was Spirited Away, so the fact that it's topped Spirited Away is pretty fucking incredible. I mean, is it going to gross that much here? No, hell no. It's not going to even get a fucking release here. But for Japan, that's pretty incredible. It sold something like 24 million tickets and earned something like $314 million.
Hey, Armageddon and Bohemian Rhapsody are quite high up there. That doesn't shock me given the history of Japan.
Yeah. But that is a pretty fucking incredible thing.
Insane. I mean, I've actually never watched Demon Slayer, so like I can't really
I
say
have.
anything
Demon
about
Slayer's
it.
really good. Like I really
It's one of the
thoroughly
few
enjoy
I
it.
haven't got around to.
No,
Like I just never have.
it's a good shonen to watch. It's very cliche shonen, but it's pretty good. Like,
Yeah, I've heard, but
it's like
yeah.
the art style and the animation is really nice in it. So it is. It looks really good. It looks really pretty. Story's pretty good. So yeah, it's definitely worth a watch if you do want to watch something new.
Yeah, I do need to watch it.
Definitely watch Demon Slayer. It's a good show. Good show. But yeah, really, that's kind of it really for Demon Slayer. It's like I thought we just mentioned this because it's pretty incredible the fact that it's managed to achieve this in 12 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it just shows you how big Demon Slayer's gotten, right?
It does, yeah.
Because I think like we say this right is that I feel like every couple of years there'll be an anime that comes out that is so big and blows expectations. In terms of like not even in just Japan but the world.
So it's possible because obviously Attack on Titan was early in the last decade.
Yeah,
so.
Attack on Titan was one of the big shows that really came out and struck really hard. Sword Art Online was another one.
Boku Hero did come out and
Boku
like
Hero again was another big one too. So like, it's like we get them every so often where a show just becomes so big that it transcends the anime community and goes into the mainstream. Demon Slayer was one. Attack on Titan very much was one. Like I'd even say it even went really into the mainstream, like even above what I'd class as mainstream, right? And I mean when I say mainstream, I mean mainstream in terms of like the sort of the nerdy, geeky cultures kind of circles, right? It went into there. But I'd say Attack on Titan even went into the casual audience as well. That's how big fucking Attack on Titan got.
Oh yeah, it's the most important anime that no one ever talks about anymore.
Yeah. But we'll talk about that. That's going to be a separate topic that we'll talk about at some point. But yeah, I thought I'd just mention the Demon Slayer stuff because, again, I thought it was just pretty impressive. Really, for anime, apart from the fact that the new season starts, there isn't really anything noteworthy to talk about. I mean, the Attack on Titan manga ends on April 9th, but again, not that big of a deal because the anime is the final season too. So
you're one of the 12 people that still cares. So.
Yeah, I think I'm the only person that still fucking cares about it. So
he told me how it ends. It's so dumb.
Well, I don't actually know how it ends. I'm just getting to the end part of it. So yeah, all right.
I can guess how it ends. It's still very dumb.
Yeah.
Boy, is it dumb.
The story is pretty dumb, but it's dumb fun, right? It's dumb fun. Okay. Well, should we move on to the main topic of the week?
Who are you?
Very funny.
It wasn't meant to be funny, but anyway. Yes, go ahead. Go on.
Okay. So the main topic of the week. Oh shit. The fuck.
Ignore it. This is a podcast. It's got to get used to it. So.
Why is it broken?
It's taking charming errors, basically.
Yeah. Why is it broken?
I don't know.
Huh? What's happened?
Like, gotta separate them out properly, dude. Like, so while he's trying to figure that out, I'll break the topic down. So, because obviously we've moved into a new decade now. Well, we're a year in, but we're gonna take 2020 as a write-off.
It's not broken. I'm just big dum. Okay. So
right, it's a write-off.
Yeah, you got. Yeah.
And like, so we're gonna look over what games were the most important for the last decade, 2010 to basically now, because obviously 2020 is a bit of a write-off year. So
yeah,
we can count it.
Nothing really in this last year came out that was important. That I would say that's important. So I would count 2020 not really as a thing because nothing really important came out in that year. But the games that define the decade. Now, I think everyone always says what their favorite game is, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. We've done that too. But these are the games that we feel have really defined what gaming is today. And what we mean by that is what I explained earlier in the beginning, is that maybe a mechanic of that game has been implemented in literally everything, or maybe a feature, or maybe a story element, something that has basically propelled the gaming industry into a certain direction. So
regardless of whether we games are shit and you're the devil for playing.
Regardless of whether we think it's good or not, it doesn't matter. What we're thinking is we're looking at the importance of it and what it means to the industry. So we've picked out this list here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we got like 8 games here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 8 games here that we feel have been the most important for the last 10 years. We'll go through them individually on why we think that. So at the top is Skyrim, in no particular order, by the way, is Skyrim. Now, the reason we picked Skyrim is because it's really pushed RPGs to be the way they are now. If you look at any other sort of first-person RPG, and even RPGs in general, everyone sort of has taken from Skyrim now.
Well, yeah, it was basically the perfected version of Oblivion, which I never liked, really. I never really liked
it was basically the perfect...
It was better, but again, I never... Like, I played Skyrim many times. I've never understood it personally. I never understood its amazingness, but, like, I get why it's important. Like,
yeah, it's important. It's an important game because it really... I think it really proved to the... Like, to everybody that RPGs are a thing and people like them. And everyone now rips from Skyrim, but basically its tone, its setting, everything. Everyone takes from Skyrim and Morrowind and basically the Elder Scrolls in general, right? And I think now as well, I think if I remember as well, it's the time is that nobody apart from Fallout and Skyrim really did first-person RPGs. They weren't really a thing. Now, a lot of people are doing first-person RPGs.
I'm not the biggest fan of first-person RPGs. I prefer third-person RPGs personally, but
I mean, I'm kind of impartial, right? Is that I know you could technically play Skyrim in third person, right? Because you could swap the perspectives.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel. It
just doesn't feel as right as in third person. But everyone takes from Skyrim, so
yeah,
that's why it's in there because it is important. Because is it anything unique? Yes and no. Like mechanic wise, not really. But the impact it had is really what we're saying here. Is that it impacted so much. It got so big, and even now, people still reference Skyrim. Even now. It's been 10 years, people are still talking about it. So it just shows you. Also, the fact as well, another reason why I put it in there is because it is the most modded game in modern history. That game has got so many mods to it that it really propelled the modding community to what it is now. Without Skyrim, without Skyrim and Minecraft for that reason too, the modding community would not be as big as it is, and we wouldn't have a lot of the things that we do now because of it. So for that reason, it's in this list.
Mm-hmm. So the next two are probably arguably the most important on this list.
The next two are definitely, I'd say, the most important too. We'll talk about Dark Souls first, and then we'll talk about Minecraft. So
See, with Dark Souls, right? What makes me laugh with Dark Souls out of all these on the list, Dark Souls probably has the least to offer, but it's something so simple and so important. It's just games that are difficult again.
Yeah.
Like
I think we've discussed this, right? Is that I think at the time before Dark Souls came out, games were very much handholding. They held your hand through everything. They gave you tutorials, they gave you like everything that you needed to know in the very beginning, so that, and even now they still do that, is that they give you so much detail on how to play the game that they forget that the biggest element and the most fun people can have is figuring out how the game works. Even now, that games that are like 20, 30 years old, people are still discovering new things about them. Like
and like just one quick point. I know that Demon's Souls came out first, but I played Demon's Souls original. It's not that difficult compared to Dark Souls.
We know that Demon's Souls came out first, but Dark Souls is the one that had the most impact.
Yeah, it's the one that like everyone knew, because Demon's Souls was kind of a niche thing, and then Dark Souls was like, oh, everyone played this.
Dark Souls was a perfected version of Demon's Souls.
Yeah, so like it's like it offers like just the idea that like when a game has its own genre comparison in like Steam, you're a
big fucking deal. So
it's like,
and Dark Souls, I think, proved to everybody in the industry is that players like games that are hard. They want games that are difficult to play.
That's what I loved it.
That's exactly why I loved it too. It's so hard, but that's what makes it so rewarding. Because when you beat the boss, or you beat a level, or you beat something, it feels rewarding. It feels like you earned it.
Like Dark Souls is one of my favorite games, and I've completed it many times. And Tom has never actually completed it yet, and he still goes back to it.
But I've replayed it so many times, and I still love playing it because it's fun.
Because it's more satisfying. Like it's not like you get satisfied because you want to keep going and still beating it, but it is important. Like I say, it is an important game of this decade. I think if it were my choice, it'd be the one that defined basically most of the decade, but I can't take away from most of the others on this list because they have contributed a lot to it.
I just see like Dark Souls has been a big important, but the next game we're about to talk about has had an even bigger impact.
I would argue so.
But anyway, go back to Dark Souls for a little bit. Yeah, is the reason we've included it is because of not so much the mechanics, but so much a little bit of the mechanics, because like the whole it being the mechanics that are actually in the game, a lot of people have ripped from, but it's more to do with the difficulty and it proving to the industry on people actually wanting that sort of level of difficulty in video games because difficult games aren't anything new. We've had them for a long time, but they faded out because I think obviously with new generations they made games a bit easier so that more casual people can get into them, and that's probably a big reason why games have sort of dipped on difficulty is because of that reason. Developers kind of sort of thought, and also you need to realize as well that when games were made difficult, they were made difficult because they were run in arcades, and the point of it is that you make it as difficult as possible so that people spend more money to play it. That was also a big reason why games were difficult, like in the 80s and the 90s, is because of that reason. So now that obviously people have consoles, that kind of reasoning sort of stayed. Developers wanted them to finish the game so that they would be more likely to play a sequel, which is why I think another big reason is why they made them easier. But Dark Souls disproved that entire theory. I just went, you know what, people do like hard games. Here you go. Also, the whole campfire mechanic, that's been ripped to death now. Like every fucking game now has a campfire mechanic now. Not saying that's anything unique. It's just everyone's basically copied the exact same thing.
Yeah, like I say, it's one of those things where like it is a very important game. It's not like hard to see why, you know. But yeah, do you want to move on to Minecraft?
I do, yeah. Minecraft, I said this when we spoke about this off stream, is probably the most important game of the last 10 years. Without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt, Minecraft is the most important game, if not one of the most important games to come out. Because it has pushed so much. Everybody and every game wants to be Minecraft. Like, every game now has a crafting mechanic. Every game, not every game, but most games have a crafting mechanic. It has spawned its own genre. It has spawned so much stuff. Like,
oh yeah, Minecraft. And I played Minecraft when it first came out. I was on that fad, and like the reason I don't play it now is because it's kind of funny. Like, if I play Minecraft, I just want to destroy everything because I don't like that people think they can have the right to build stuff and me not knock it down. Like it's like you can't go around expecting me to not just knock your shit down.
Well, Jacob,
you don't deserve it.
You are one experiment away from being an evil villain, so I mean, it makes sense that you want to blow everyone's stuff up.
Just keep the chemical bath away from me. But anyway, yeah. So like I look, I've played this. I've done this dance when it first came out, like, and I've seen it all. But like, my personal feelings against Minecraft, like, I find the game boring, but it is an important game. Like, you can't really deny that. Like,
the whole appeal of Minecraft, right, is that you could do what you want. Is that you could build what
and
you
that's
want,
my
you can
problem.
do what you want.
I get bored with games where you can do what you want because the sandbox
Sky's the limit.
rule.
Sky's the limit with Minecraft, and
the sky's the limit, and that makes it boring.
Well,
because
for you personally, that's fair enough, right? Is that not everyone feels the same way that we do, and I do about Minecraft, and I think as well a big reason why Minecraft has become so big is because not only is it a sandbox you can do what you want, but also the fact that it is a very low end game, so any PC can basically run it.
Yeah, you can run it. You just slow the fog down, I guess. But
also,
like even my
as well is that people have used Minecraft for educational purposes to teach people how to do things and how game works and everything. So it's so multi-purpose that it can be used in so many different things. Not only could it be used for for entertainment purposes, it could be used for educational purposes as well. Its mechanics have really sort of pushed the whole crafting sort of like fad. That's basically, well, I say fad, it's not really a fad, it's kind of here to stay now. But the whole crafting mechanic, is crafting unique? No, it's not unique. But this is what Minecraft perfected it.
Yeah, and it kind of spawned a whole generation of kids to basically become rude, arbitrary people who watch people play it on YouTube.
Yeah. Also, Minecraft, again, we pushed the whole modding community as well. There's so many Minecraft mods. Like it's up there with, it's in fact probably surpassed Skyrim now with how many fucking mods it's got. Like
arguably,
texture mods.
One can make an argument mods. It is the most important. Like it's definitely up there.
Yeah,
to say
it is definitely the most important game of the last 10 years, if not one of the most important games to come out. So I'm gonna leave it there because I think everyone knows what Minecraft is. Yeah. Everyone knows how Minecraft works. So we're gonna move on to Overwatch now. Well, I'll say Overwatch, League of Legends, StarCraft 2 are kind of. I say this
all in the same suit.
I say all these games are kind of in the same genre, and the reason why we've included them is because the previous three games have pushed gameplay and mechanics, right? These games have pushed esports to what it is now. If it wasn't for Overwatch, League of Legends, StarCraft 2, Hearthstone, and CS:GO, we would not have the esports scene that we do now. I'd argue that League of Legends and StarCraft 2 are probably, and CS:GO are probably the three most important out of those lists. But
StarCraft 2 not so much anymore because obviously StarCraft 2 has
not
gone
so much
by the
more,
wayside.
yes, not so much anymore. But the reason it's in this because without it, we wouldn't have an esports scene at all. Like StarCraft 2 was the original. I would say not the original esport, but like the original modern esport. Like we wouldn't have what we have now without it. And then League of Legends.
I miss good RTSs like StarCraft 2. Get rid of MOBAs, bring back RTSs.
Well, MOBAs are slowly dying now, but
good.
StarCraft 2 is what really pushed it, and then League of Legends made it this big thing, and so did CS:GO. So without those games, we would not have the esports scene we do. Like, yes, every game has its own unique thing about it, which kind of pushed its own genre. League of Legends definitely pushed the MOBA genre to basically everyone making. Can you remember at one point in like 2014 when everyone was making MOBAs?
Well, yeah, you got Smite, like things like that. Smite, like just Smite basically just said, "What if we just make them gods based on the real world?"
Even though technically Dota is the original MOBA and the League of Legends copied off Dota, but
no one talks about Dota.
But no one really talks as much about Dota as they do at League of Legends, which is why we've included it. We definitely recognize that Dota is very important because it made the genre. But League of Legends is what popularized, made it popular.
League of Legends is still around today, unfortunately, but
it's still here, even though it's now a mobile game.
But and same with Hearthstone and Overwatch for different reasons. Like Overwatch has panned like the shooter that's a MOBA, where it's just like
the hero shooter genre.
Instead of being like you make your own characters, you have set characters with skins, so it's more like money you put out for it, and it's like like out of all those games, I'd say that Overwatch is my least favorite. Maybe actually no, League probably. Actually, I enjoy Overwatch sometimes.
I'd probably say League of Legends is my least favorite. No, not least favorite. Overwatch. No, actually, I say Overwatch is my least favorite because even today I still fucking play League of Legends. So
I can't love StarCraft 2. But yeah, so like, wait, why is CS:GO on this list?
Because it pushed the first person competitive.
Oh, you mean Counter-Strike?
Yeah, CS:GO, Counter-Strike Go.
Like, for some reason, like, I've never
Counter-Strike
seen
Global Offensive.
The person who calls it CS:GO.
Yeah.
I know of, like,
really. Everyone calls it CS:GO.
I've never heard anyone call it CS:GO.
Everyone calls it CS:GO. Like, you're living under a rock.
I am, like, but I just think Counter-Strike, like,
well, Counter-Strike, like, Global Offensive is the latest iteration of Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike's been around for ages. You've had Source, you've had, previous iterations of Counter-Strike, but Counter-Strike Go, like Global Offensive, is what's really made the first-person competitive shooter like a viable esport. Like, of course, there's been esports before that. Halo's had an esport. Fucking Gears has esports. There's been esports before, but there's nothing been as big as Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Yeah. Which again, we're saying these are the original pioneers of the sport. No, because they've had predecessors before them, but these are the ones that have been the most important because they've pushed it to the popularity that it is today. Which is why we've included them. Hearthstone is on there because it has proved to the industry that TCGs are viable and can make money. Unfortunately, so that's why it's in there because now everyone's copying fucking Hearthstone. Like every card game that comes out now is basically ripping on Hearthstone. So that's
not necessarily. I've seen like I've known plenty of card games that don't exactly do Hearthstone does its own thing. Look, I know Runeterra is basically Hearthstone, but that's just one game. Yeah. Hearthstone isn't the same as Magic or like.
No, of course not. No, that's different. But Magic's different because it started off as a card game and then it became a digital one. That's different. Because
Hearthstone obviously is based on the original World of Warcraft card game, but like
yeah, of course. But with slight changes.
Hearthstone basically thrives on being just a digital-only card game.
Yeah, it thrives in its environment of being exclusively a digital one. Like Magic the Gathering is different because it is a physical card game too, which you can then play on a game. That's different. Yeah, most games that's not a TCG.
But yeah, Hearthstone is important because it basically made card games like mainstream. I saw people that I would never even imagine playing Hearthstone when it first came out, and I was there.
Is it the right term? Is it TCG? Or whatever the term is, that is exclusively a game.
OCG, just put OCG.
Yeah, whatever. Right? You know what? You guys know what I mean. It's the one that's exclusively online only. It doesn't have also a physical card game as well. We're not counting those because they don't count because that's a different thing. Is that they had a card game and then spawned a video game. That's different. These ones we're talking about that pushed like the esport for like that kind of genre, which has been Hearthstone. Really, anyway. But yeah, this is basically our definitive list of what we think has been the definitive defining games of the last decade. And this is, again, you guys could agree with us or not agree with us. It's up to you. It's, at the end of the day, it's our opinion, right? It's just that for us, this is what I think it is. Now we're going to move on to what our actual favorite games are, which there's no real criteria. We just just our favorite games at the end of the day, right? So here we go.
You've still got the other.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, so these are both our lists. So what I'll do is, Jacob, do you want to go through yours first, or do you want me to go through?
Well, why don't we just go through one each and then we'll swap between.
Okay. So I've picked. So these are the games that I've picked. I picked Uncharted 4, Last of Us, and Dark Souls, and then Jacob.
Bloodborne, Monster Hunter World, and Mass Effect 2.
So what we'll do is I'll go through why I picked Uncharted 4, and then you go through why you picked Bloodborne, and then I'll go through Last of Us, and then so on and so forth, right? We'll bounce back between. So the reason I picked Uncharted 4 is because not only one did I really freaking enjoy the game because it was really good, it wrapped up the story perfectly. It also did something very different with Uncharted, which it had that slow burn in the beginning, which I love.
It's great. I love it.
It's great. It's great. It's fantastic. It introduced a new character, which added to the story and didn't really sort of like feel like it was like.
I have my issues with Sam, but like they're not problems, more or less. They're just issues.
Did he feel a bit like thrown in a little bit, but like it works, right? It didn't fit his
It's
character.
fine, right?
His character didn't feel like he was unnatural, right? He didn't
Sully
feel
was
like
too old, so we needed someone else.
Yeah, but they needed somebody else because Sully at this point is kind of too old now. So they needed that new sidekick, and for them to throw in the brother, which was totally fine. Sam, the brother, was cool. Also, the story of them trying to find the pirate treasure was really awesome. Like,
Yeah,
they added so much more. Yeah. They added so much more set pieces. They added so much more new mechanics. That it was a great game, a fantastic game. Like they really added to previous mechanics as well. So yeah, go on. So what was you gonna say?
Sorry, I love it too. It's not my favorite. 3 is still my favorite. But I love like you said, I agree with you. It's a great slow burn. I love how much time it takes before we get to the island, and when you get to the island, it's almost as cool as the build up to it.
Yeah.
I love Nathan Drake as being like this washed out, like he doesn't know what to do with his life, like and he's like he almost misses that life, and like I love it. Love all the cameos I love all the flashback missions when he's a kid with his brother. Love all that stuff.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. It's an incredible game. Like they really. Uncharted 4 is really them perfecting everything about the Uncharted series into one game. Now, I know you say that Uncharted 3 is your favourite, but my big problem with Uncharted 3 is what I said, is the fact that I feel like the ending is too short and it just ends. And it's like the whole like build up to it was great, but then you get to the actual main place and it is very short. And this is why I liked Uncharted 4, because the build up is just as long and the ending is also just as long, so that you get that time to explore the island. And that's what I loved about Uncharted 4. It throws in everything. So this is why Uncharted 4 has been my favourite game of this decade, like one of my favourite games of the decade, because it improved everything that I loved about Uncharted, not only because Uncharted is one of my favourite game series of all time, but also because it improved on everything that previous Uncharted games did. It took everything, like the big set pieces from 2, made them bigger. It took all like the lengthy build up of 3 and the flashbacks of 3, included it in as well. Like it's a fantastic game. If you haven't played Uncharted 4, play Uncharted 4. It's fucking amazing. And then why did you choose Bloodborne?
Okay, so I love Dark Souls. It's one of my favorite games of all time. It holds a special place in my heart. And it's not a perfect game though. Dark Souls. It is a very important game. It's a very important game for the game industry right now. Bloodborne is better, and it is still, in my opinion, From Software's masterpiece. It will never be top, really. I don't think. Like, I love Sicario too, but I've never actually finished that yet because I still cannot get over the. It's
hard.
It's very hard. Bloodborne. When I first played it, like I'll admit that when I played when it first came out, I didn't really get it. But then I played it over years and years, completed it many, many times, like at least 4 or 5 times. Like it's one I go back to almost as much as Dark Souls, and I usually continue it and keep going around, like instead of starting fresh. And like in terms of just like it's the perfected version of what Dark Souls was trying to be. The look is something entirely its own, and nothing else looks like it. It's the best version of Cthulhu Mythos that isn't Cthulhu, easily, and it breaks into it so subtly. The combat system is different. Instead of punishing you for being greedy, Bloodborne rewards you for it. So I can't wait to see you try and play it again and like see how you handle it.
Because I haven't actually played Bloodborne, so I played like a little bit of it and I did enjoy it. But I do want to play through it. I want to play through all of From Software's games, because I've only played through Dark Souls 1 and a bit of 2. I want to finish Dark Souls 1 first, and then go through Dark Souls 2 and 3 as well. I also want to finish Bloodborne and Sekiro as well. And then also Demon Souls, because that's now out on PlayStation 5
Oh yeah.
when I get a PS5, of course.
I like Dark Souls 2 more than most people. I don't like Dark Souls 3 really at all. I think it's just fan service. But Bloodborne for me is basically what I wanted Dark Souls to be the perfected version as. Some of the hardest, most creative bosses of all time from Software's catalog. Like, just such an interesting and fascinating mythos where even a boss's name is interesting. And I love the reason why I love From Software is because they never force a story down my throat.
Yeah.
They let me explore the world, and I can get as invested in it as I want it to be, and that's what I love about it. There is no other game like it. I love its difficulty. I love its world. I love just playing it. Like, it's such a good game to just play and like. There's no game like it, to be honest. It's probably the greatest game I've ever played as a standing right now. Like, and if I was to pick out of these three, it would be my favorite, probably.
Well, fair enough. Fair enough. So, yeah, I'm going to move on to my next game, Last of Us. Not the second one, the first one, even though I really like the second one, which is a very controversial opinion nowadays, apparently. The Last of Us 1, for me, is one of the few games that really struck me. And what I mean by that is like
Baby.
I don't mean in that way. I mean like in the sense that it made me really care for the characters. It was the one game that like really was like, wow, you know, you finish it and you go, holy shit, you know, it's that impactful. It's got a great soundtrack. Its mechanics are great. Like, I mean, realistically, if you think about it, right? The whole premise of The Last of Us isn't anything unique. Zombie outbreak, you know, whatever you call them, they are basically zombies, right? Zombie outbreak.
They don't even need to be in there. Like, the zombies are just an extra threat.
Yeah, but I've said this before, and it's the same with The Walking Dead as well. Is that the zombies in The Last of Us aren't what make The Last of Us The Last of Us. It's the characters that make the game, not the threat. It's the zombies are just a threat. You could replace them with anything else, and it's still the same game.
I mean, look, I have my issues with Last of Us. Like, I think, like, I agree with most of what you said. Like, the gameplay is near flawless still to this day.
Yeah.
It's like one of the most fun games to actually just sit down and play. The environment's great. The look of the game is great. It's post-apocalyptic, not in what we used to, where it's like everything's green overgrown, not like everything's red and all burning and hellscape.
Yeah.
Like, my issue with the story aside, like, I don't like. What I like about the story is that there's always consequences. Like, it's a lesson that you have to learn. Like, no matter what you do, there's always consequences.
Yeah,
like,
I think that's a good thing to actually mention. Actually, is that I think the reason why The Last of Us sticks out so much is because the game's basically a game of consequence, right? Is that it the whole premise of the game is to state that you can't just do what you want. Like, there is consequences for your actions, and this is what happens when you do these things, and it really does hit a different note, is the best way I can say. Is The Last of Us really hits a different note. Not only is it is the story amazing, the gameplay is also, as you mentioned, pretty much near flawless. It's so it's so polished and so good. Like, is it perfect? No game's perfect, but it is so fun to play.
That year, it blew everyone away, and for good reason. Like, you can see why it blew everyone away.
Yeah, it did. It really did. Like, it is an incredible game. It is worth the title of a masterpiece because it is. It is a masterpiece.
Yeah, it is. Like, it's up there. It's one of Naughty Dog's best. Like,
yeah, it's one of Naughty Dog's best ever games. Like, it's straight up there. Like, honestly, if I was drawn between Uncharted 4 and Last of Us, I honestly I couldn't tell you, because I like them both just as much. Like, there is no, for me, like, I could not say which one I prefer more, because they're both just as good for me. Honestly, I've got really not much more to say about The Last of Us, apart from the fact that I've already mentioned is what makes the game good is its gameplay and its story. End of. I understand that they're not nothing new, but the way it's executed is what makes it good.
Yeah, that's fair.
And yours, Jacob?
What's my next one? Monster Hunter, right? So I love Monster Hunter. Like, I've been with the franchise for a long time. Like, I've been with it since Try. Like, I've played it again since then, so it means a lot to me. And like I say, if you were to ask me what I think is a better game, like, I love 4 more for Ultimate, but World, for it, just how much it made Monster Hunter big in the mainstream, and how much of just an amazing, like, because Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate is just a really good DS game. Monster Hunter 4 World looks better than most, like, games on the console when it first came out, and like, it's from a company that hasn't really made, like, it's like they're not used to making console style Monster Hunter games. And it's such an impressive game. Like, you've only just started recently playing it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. all the monsters are so like all the ones from World, including the DLC. I'm counting it is the DLC as well as at this point,
Yeah.
even though they're basically two separate games. Like, and what I love about Monster Hunter World more than anything is that it's a game that you pay your money and you get all out for it. There's no loot boxes or special add-ons. You can get the best looking armor by working for it. You don't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I love about it. It's like it proved that you can still do that. People will still buy your game, and they did, if you just give them a good game. And it was a full game even before the DLC, but the DLC was not even full price, and it was basically a sequel.
Yeah.
So that's what I love. Like, it's such a well-made game. It's so much fun. I go back to it all the time. Like for me, I would put four. Like four, I think is like they're still a better game, but World is just so much more important and more like impressive to me personally.
I think Joe, I think I mentioned this. Like, I've only just started playing Monster Hunter. I do like it. I think it's great. Is that I think Monster Hunter, why it's so fun, and this is not just World. I'm talking about all of them. Is that most games will have like a build up, right, to the boss, to like the end boss level boss, right, where you fight all the like the lesser minions, and then eventually you get to the boss, and then you fight the boss, right? Monster Hunter just cuts it all out. It's just like, you want boss battles? It's all boss battles. All you're fighting is boss battles, and that's it. And that's what Monster Hunter is.
And people like boss rush games. That's why Cuphead was so popular. But like with Monster Hunter, it's like, and I love the fact that there's no level loading this time. Like there's an entire world. Like all the ecosystem feels alive. Like monsters fight each other for turf wars.
Yeah,
it's like you're in a real. It's the closest to feeling like a real RPG because you actually feel like you're there.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you. It does. It feels like its own world,
a living world. Like
not only does it look beautiful, but it plays really well. Also, the fact that it's got a weapon for every sort of fighting style that you want. If you want to shoot things, you can. If you want to slash things with swords, you can. If you want to like pole vault like I do all the time, you can.
Yeah.
If you want to just be a big fat hammer and just smash things, you can. It's like it's got a play style for everybody.
Yeah, it's like it's a fantastic game. Like, and I think it's deserving of being one of the best of the decade. Like it earned like. It's such an important game for Monster Hunter, and I can't wait to see what they do with a sequel if they do make it.
Oh yeah. Also, the whole co-op stuff that you could do, that you could.
Oh yeah, one of the best multiplayer. So simple and so streamlined. Because it's a game where like everyone knows exactly what they've got to do as soon as they load into the mission.
Yeah.
There's no pretense or anything.
Yeah, find the boss, kill the boss, done.
Yeah.
It's like Monster Hunter is one of those games, right, where it's so self-explanatory. It's like you hunt the monster, you kill the monster, that's it.
Yeah. And it's better than it has any right to be. Like it's.
Oh yeah, definitely. You think like a game that's just so simple wouldn't work as well as it does, but it does. It really does.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
that's really about it, isn't it? Yeah, that's all I've got to say on Monster Hunter. Like I definitely think it's a game. I 100% agree with you. It's that I haven't played it enough to really sort of love it as much as you do. Like for me, it's like I like it. I think it's a great game, but it's not like in my favorites because I haven't played it as much.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, so the last game I'm going to talk about is Dark Souls. The reason I've included Dark Souls, even though I haven't beat it, is just because it's the game that I always come back to. Like since I bought it, since it come out, I've always gone back to it and replayed it over and over again. Even though I haven't beat it, I keep finding myself coming back to it and playing it.
And I've watched him try
again and again and again, and I keep trying to get further and further, and I get further and further every time. And then maybe I forget about it for a couple, like 3 or 4 months or however long it is, and then I'll come back to it again and play it over again. And this is the game why I've included, because for me it's just a constant battle of trying to progress in the game, and I still enjoy doing it. I still enjoy playing through the same thing over and over again because it's fun. It's a challenge, and that's what I like about it. Is that it's a challenge.
Got such a great world. Like the world is fascinating to go through. It's got such a charm and like sinister to it. Like. You got to Analondo. Analondo is one of the best like video game levels of all time. Like, it's like this city, but like there's something wrong with it. Like you can tell that something's up with it.
Yeah, as well. What I like about Dark Souls is the same reason why I like the new Doom is that there's story there if you want it, but you don't have to. You don't have to indulge in it if you don't want to.
No,
it's optional. You can look into it if you want to, and you can find out some really rich things about it and its history and everything, and it's really interesting. Say with Doom. But if you don't want to do that and you want to and you're there strictly for the gameplay, then that's by all means that's fine too. Like this is what I love about this game is because it gives you the option of story. Like obviously games like Uncharted and Last of Us, their story is kind of mandatory to what to what their game identity is. So really, you can't really ignore the story because it's kind of a crucial part of the gameplay. But Dark Souls isn't. It's one of the few games that separates its gameplay and story into two different things. Oops, I just knocked over my microphone a little bit. It separates its gameplay and story into two things, and they're not mutually exclusive. So you can't just play the game and not know about the story, because you kind of need to know the story to maybe progress in it. If you get what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get what you mean. Like,
So,
I played through the start of Dark Souls enough time to know that, like, you don't need to pay attention to the story.
yeah,
The story
exactly.
just basically to get you from A to B is to fight these certain bosses.
Yeah,
And, like,
it's self-explanatory.
obviously, you still haven't got to the halfway point where the game becomes a little bit weaker, in my opinion. But you have to see, like,
Yeah.
you still haven't got to the worst part of the game, which is the Lost Isla and the Demon Ruins or whatever. Like, so you still haven't beaten Ornstein and Smaug, so
No,
we
not
need
yet.
to see that. So
But I
it's
definitely
testament to him putting up on this list if it's still, like,
Mm.
hasn't done it yet.
But no, I really enjoyed the game. Like, it's a fantastic game, and it definitely deserves its top 3 for me in the last decade. Like, because everything else in there is kind of like weak in comparison, right? Is that, I mean, to be honest, it was a toss between Dark Souls and God of War, and maybe a couple of other games, but the God of War is the one that I'm thinking of right now. And the reason I didn't include God of War is because it was a single playthrough kind of experience. You play it through once and that's it. You don't play it again.
Yeah, you don't really need to go back to it. It's a great game.
It's a great game. Don't get me wrong. It's a fantastic game, but unless I really wanted to play through it because of a new one coming out, I don't think I would. While The Last of Us, Uncharted 4 is that I can always play through those again.
These are games that we can. All three of these we'll always go back to.
Yeah, that's another reason why I've included Dark Souls, Last of Us, and Uncharted 4, because I've played them through so many times because I've always gone back to them and replayed them again.
All right.
So yeah, and your final game, Jacob?
So my last one is Mass Effect 2. Of the games that I go back to the most, so obviously Dark Souls and Bloodborne, this is the one that I go back to probably more than those two, only by sheer like value of just getting through it, so I can play through the entire trilogy.
Yeah.
So I like Mass Effect 1, but it's a very clunky game. It does have the best story out of all three, there's no question. But it is a very clunky game, a very product of its time, and it's clearly not what they wanted to make properly. Because there's still some like glaring issues with that game, but I try and skip that if I can, even though its story is really strong. But 2 and 3, like, I play even more. But like 3's issues aside, like, yes, I know the ending is not great, but we'll not talk about that. Like, it still has the best combat. 3, like, fight me. But 2 is easily my favorite out of all three of them. It has the best story, it has the best lineup of characters. Like, it has the greatest last mission of any game that I've ever played. The final like mission to take on the collectors is an incredible feat of like not only game design but storytelling as well. Like the way that you have to internally like gain each crew member's like loyalty, learn about them, care about this crew. Like, you actually get to know them. You feel like they're real people. In that game, there's only one crew member that I let die every time, and that's Jacob because he sucks. So, like, I always let him die on 2, and everyone else I just saved to pass him to 3. He's not important in 3, so it doesn't matter. It literally is worthless. So, yeah, like, it's a game that I go back to more than any other. Like, it's just such a like Mass Effect compared to Star Wars and Star Trek, because it's such its own thing. It's got its own look, and like when people say it's the Star Trek and Star Wars of gaming, I can see that because it's such its own thing, and like its own style, that I can see why it's like being compared to that. But its weaknesses aside and Andromeda aside, I still go back to 2 and 3 quite a bit. Like, I love going back to that world and revisiting it. Like, it's so great. Like, but that's just me. Like, and that game came out in 2010. That was like years ago, but I still go back to it like almost every other year.
Well,
like,
a game's good when you keep revisiting it over and over again.
Oh yeah.
I think that's the reason why I've included the games I have as well, is because the games that I constantly keep revisiting, and if I keep revisiting them, then they must be doing something right.
Exactly.
I've got really no leg in Mass Effect 2 because I've not played it. I haven't played any of them, so I can't really comment on what I think of them because I don't know anything about them.
I would love for you to play through them all at one point. Like,
yeah, maybe I will. Maybe I will do. Maybe I'll stream at one point. But I've never played through Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. So Andromeda, but I'm never going to play Andromeda because I've heard how crap it is.
No, don't bother with Andromeda.
But it's I don't know. I don't know anything about them. Me not playing them is kind of a bit of a lie. I've played like a very tiny bit of it, but like maybe 10 minutes. Like, nothing too like series that I could really form an opinion about it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why I've not really got anything to say about Mass Effect because I don't really know anything about it.
Yeah. So I think that's all I've got to say on it, really. But
Okay,
I
cool.
think that's it, isn't it?
Well, yeah, that's really our list for those. And now we've got one more list, which I thought was a good thing to include. Okay, that's kind of fucked up for some reason.
Yeah,
that's supposed to say dishonorable. Hang on, let me just change it a little bit.
Changing that. So basically, this is honorable mentions for games that like important to the decade, and the ones that like kind of like fucked up a lot of the decade. So
hang on, no, that is right. Hang on, no, that is right. Honorable mentions are dishonorable. Okay, okay. I didn't fuck it up. Okay, cool. All right, so we've included an honorable mention list because even though we don't think really these games have been as impactful as the other ones, I think they're still worth mentioning because they have changed the industry. And the reason why I've included a couple of these is I'll explain when we talk about it. So we'll go through the honorable mentions first, and then we'll go for the dishonorable mentions after.
Mm-hmm.
So the honorable mentions are PT, Destiny, Batman, Arkham Asylum, /City. So there is many more that we could talk about, but I think these three are kind of important.
Yes.
So we'll talk about PT first, and then we'll go through the list. So the reason why I've included PT on here is because I would have actually included it on the other list, but the reason why I didn't is because it's not technically a game, it's a demo, which is why...
Wait, you actually include this? I told you, like, why would you include a game that's just basically a demo and we got Death Stranding out of it?
But no, but the reason why I'm including it, because it is important, because it proved to the industry that horror games are legit and that you can actually make them really fucking scary. And that style of horror game has been copied by so many people now. Like PT,
I guess.
PT has been single-handedly the most influential horror game, even though it's a fucking demo, like in the last 10 years, because it's pushed the genre to what it is now. Like we wouldn't have Resident Evil 7 without it. We wouldn't have technically Death Stranding because obviously of the whole shit that happened after it with Kojima, but like we wouldn't have like Outlast. We wouldn't have any of that without this game. So you could say, wait, did Outlast come out first? Either way, like it influenced a lot, even if Outlast came out before it. Right? I'm just quickly googling it.
But yeah, what can you do?
Yeah, it did. Hang on. Where did it come out? Did this come out? Okay, no. It PT technically came out before it, so I'm counting it. So
okay, moving on to Destiny then.
But yeah, the reason I included it is because of that reason. Yeah, but let's move on to Destiny. Go on.
So Destiny is both a dishonorable mention and honorable mention because Destiny. I remember when Destiny was first announced and like everyone was super excited and it came out, it was just half a game and then they kept making out more content and just ripping us for our money. And look, I'm not gonna lie, folks. Like I am that guy that like buys all the DLC. I usually buy it like when it's all put together. I'm that asshole that keeps saying that, oh, maybe it'll be good this time, and never is.
It's like an abusive relationship. No, they will change. Look,
I'm a Transformers fan. Like, if just look at the movies with me, and like you'll see the same thing. But yeah, like I'm the asshole that defends it and also hates Destiny. Like, I don't think Destiny is a great game.
Well, that's
I think it has
League of Legends though.
Game, but it just chooses not to. And like I say, it to charge that much for a DLC is criminal.
Yeah.
Like, it's just criminal because there's not enough content.
Yeah.
There's nothing. And like everything is just reskins. There's no real decent story, and I am not paying 25 quid for reskins, enemies, slightly more content of like things. I'm not doing it. Like I will buy it when it all comes out for free, which I have done since 2.
So the reason why we've included Destiny is because really it kind of has pushed the genre. The whole like loot shooter genre kind of spawned from this really. And this is why we've included it because so many games have copied that mechanic. And I'm not saying loot shooters weren't a thing before that, but Destiny really made it popular, and every sort of game has now copied that exact kind of formula. Whether it worked or not, it doesn't matter. The fact is that it's been copied by so many other games. Anthem's just one of them, even though it's a complete colossal failure. But that's just one example, right? Is that it spawned its own genre, and I say spawned its own genre. It's popularized a niche genre beforehand, which is why it's included, and it's also included in the dishonorable mentions because as much as it has done good, it's also done a lot of fucking bad too, because it's made people lazy. Like, it's made, like, it's everyone wants to be this loot box shooter, and that's not terrible. If you're into that, great, you know, but Destiny has gotten to a Destiny 1 was fine. The first Destiny was actually okay. It wasn't terrible. I got a lot of enjoyment out of the first Destiny, but Destiny 2 is really where it kind of fell from grace, where they got lazy.
I played Destiny 2 day one, and I did everything in about a month.
They really like pushed like the whole DLC and just laziness and really sort of like zero effort. Destiny 2 was so bad that they had to make it free for it to be worth for people to play. That's how you know you fucked up.
You for DLC, like Beyond Light, I've played all through Beyond Light now because I got it for much cheaper than it was. I'm not paying more than 10 quid for it. But like 25 quid for that.
But this is why the DLC is so expensive.
Fuck you, charging 25 quid for barely any content. Like, fuck you.
But this is why it's so expensive, because Destiny 2 had to be made free, so they're charging so much money for the DLC. It's criminal.
It's criminal.
Yeah, it's criminal. This is why it's a dishonorable.
I into it, but I obviously buy everything cheap. I'm not paying more than 25 quid for nothing, basically. A raid, barely 3 hours of story, a new ability, and maybe some new skins is not 25 quid's worth of DLC. It's 10, 12 at the most. I'm sorry, but that's just what it is. Like, I don't care how expensive games are to make, I'm not paying almost 25 quid for that amount of content. Not doing it.
It's honestly, it's criminal. The fact that they've I think the reason why I've definitely included it is because it's just their practices and what they think they can get away with.
Like I say, I didn't buy Destiny 2 DLC until the Iron Banner thing, and then I got it all for basically cheaper anyway. So, Destiny 1. So I'm not doing it. Like, this is what I did with 2. I am not playing the new DLC when it comes out. I just wait for it to come cheap, which I did last time. So, but yeah. So what's the next one that we mentioned?
So Batman Arkham Asylum / City. The reason why we've included that is because
it showed you that you can make a good game out of like comic books, and a lot of games have kind of
it spawns the whole comic books like video game sort of thing. Is because comic books have been made into video games before that, but Batman Arkham Asylum especially really proved to people that you can make a good comic book video game, and you can make something that is based off a comic book and it'd be very fucking good. And then it spawned City, which was just a bigger.
City's one of the best sequels I've ever played.
Oh yeah, City's a great sequel. And then obviously Arkham Knight came after that, which wasn't as good, but still pretty reasonably good.
Oh yeah, it's fine.
And but I think as well why it's included is because every single game
copies
the exact same combat system from Arkham Asylum. Like every game now has the same fucking combat system as Arkham Asylum. It's like that whole like triangle to counter, like it's in every single game now. Like it's exact. Like not, I'm saying obviously not the exact, but like obviously counters have been before, but like its whole setup and the way it's done, everyone copies that exact same thing, which is why it's in here, because it's even if you say, oh, it's just a comic book game, it's important because its mechanic has been copied by everybody else. That's why it's in there. So so that's why we've included Arkham Asylum / City, because Arkham Asylum is definitely, I'd say, probably more important than City, but but City's just is in there because it also, some of its mechanics also kind of really influenced other games too, and it also it was an incredible sequel, absolutely incredible sequel. It's in there because of that reason.
The last game that we need to talk about. Well, we don't need to, but we should mention. I don't think we should mention it because if we give it any clout, any like attention, it'll come back from the dead and actually become relevant again.
What's that?
The game that you put on the list, like it's on the screen. So,
okay.
Like if we mention it, it'll come back from the dead of the demon spawn, and just like
let's go through the dishonorable mentions. Okay, so Overwatch is on there because not only has it done a lot for the esports industry and really pushed the esports to what it is now, but also it has spawned probably the most cancerous thing that has happened to the industry since the DLC saga, and that is loot boxes. Indeed. Overwatch is one of the big reasons why loot boxes are as big as they are, because it spawned the whole gambling thing in fucking video games. Like, I'm not saying it's not the first, because technically FIFA Ultimate Teams was before it, but it popularized the whole loot box thing,
Yeah.
and it really needs to be in here because it needs to be
And
held
everyone
accountable.
copies that kind of loot box.
Yep.
It's like
Everyone copies it. It needs to be held accountable because it's turned the industry into what it is. Like the way the industry is, it's not exclusively Overwatch's fault, and in fact, it was a complete accident. It was a complete accident that it got to that state. But every single company has copied that system. Every single one. Every game that has a loot box system, even games that were single player exclusive, have fucking loot boxes. Look at you, Shadow of War.
Yep.
Like it's cancerous, and it needs to be mentioned because it is a disgusting practice that the industry has, and I hate it. And I think everyone.
I'm sorry, guys, but like, if your game is that expensive, then just make it a bigger like base price.
Yeah.
And then do it that way. Like, people will buy your game if you. Monster Hunter World proved this. Like, people will buy the game and keep going back to it. But yeah, you can have loot boxes, but just don't make them important.
Yeah.
Like, make skins be able to make it easy, because the thing with loot boxes, which is a problem, is that it's so hard to get anything decent that you want.
Yeah.
Without putting months of work in. If it was just days of work, people would do it more.
Yeah.
Like, if you want a skin on Overwatch without you paying a loot box, it would take you months to get the coin you need. Like, you have to pay it constantly every single day.
Yeah.
Make it so it's days, but we're not playing it that much.
I think what really annoys me about the whole current like loot box system is like obviously EA did the cancerous thing with Battlefront 2, which everybody knows about. That was one of the biggest controversies I'd say of this decade, actually. Funny enough, was the fact that they used the loot box system as a way to give players an advantage over everybody else. Now, you can say what you want about Overwatch. As much as I hate the loot box system and how it started it, really it's only cosmetics and it doesn't do anything to the gameplay, which, yeah, is fine, but that doesn't take away from the impact it's had on the industry.
It doesn't help when they're so expensive.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to be paying nearly $10 for skins.
I just...
and stickers.
I understand that companies need to making a game now is not as cheap as it used to be, and it's not as profitable as it used to be. I understand that. I understand that games have gotten more expensive. But at the same time, if that is the case, there needs to be a better way, because you cannot be scamming your customers. Like,
the only way to do it, Tom, because obviously you need to pay for servers, is ads. Bring ads back.
Yeah.
Like, the Xbox had it. The original Xbox had ads between their stuff. Do that. Like, just put. I think people.
There needs to be a new way. I'm not saying ads is the answer, because I don't think so. But I mean, if they do. I like product placement, maybe that'll work. I'm okay with that. As long as I don't notice it, I'm okay with it. But there needs to be a better way than this, because the industry is gone this way, and nobody likes it. And do you know what as well, right? Is that the industry keeps doing this. I know we wanted to talk about this as a separate thing at one point, but I want to briefly mention it here. Is that the industry, what it does this all the time. We've seen this countless and countless times before, right? Can you remember when DLC came out and people were pissed about that? And like, I'd say 2011, 2012, when DLC started becoming a thing, people were like, what the fuck, why do I have to pay more money for the rest of the game? And to be fair, I understand their point, and I'm still agreeing with it. But that was a big thing, and that became controversial, and then everyone hated it, and then the loot box system came out, and now everyone's like, oh, DLC isn't that bad anymore. It's like, what keeps happening is that something worse comes out, and then we get conditioned into thinking the previous thing was okay, and then no one talks about it anymore, and then it becomes standard practice. And this is what's going to happen, right? Is loot boxes are a big controversial thing right now, but when something worse comes out, we're going to just accept the loot boxes, and then it's like, loot boxes are fine now. It's like, no, they're not fine, and they should not be included. We want them gone. Like, nobody... if you're an adult and you're spending your own money on loot boxes, that's your own problem, right? But what I'm talking about is this: when this stuff is being targeted at kids, that is wrong. That is morally wrong. Kids do not know the value of money yet and what that means. They should not be exposed to the gambling side yet. Like, why do you think gambling is strictly made for people of 18 over and 21? Because they need people who are conscious, because it's dangerous. Yeah, it's conscious. Like, gambling's got serious addictions like attached to it. I know this because I know someone who is a gambling addict, and like gambling is dangerous. Like, you can, like, people don't need me to tell you this, because everyone, I think most people know this, but you cannot be having that serious, dangerous formula in a video game. It is bad practice. And the fact that the companies are getting away with it because they're classing it as not gambling, and they're making it as surprise mechanics, looking at you, EA, is disgusting. And the fact that it's still not illegal is blowing my mind right now.
to our last game, which is in the different point, which builds into another point with like similar to loot boxes, which is the battle pass. Fortnite.
Battle Pass. Battle Pass. Another. I don't think Battle Pass is as bad as loot boxes.
Well, no, because usually most battle passes have two sections: the non-subscriber and the subscriber.
If you want to
the
buy
non-subscriber
one,
especially in something like Destiny, they have a lot that you can get without subscribing.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. But like I say, it's still a problem.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as loot boxes because you have to work to get the rewards, and you get a lot of rewards for what you pay. But it is still a problem, and a lot of games do it better than Fortnite. But Fortnite started
was
it.
Fortnite was the one that started the Battle Pass thing.
Yeah.
So again, another game that's a dishonorable mention, not only because of the Battle Pass, but also because it spawned all these like 10-year-olds like fucking doing the Fortnite dance, which is why I hate it.
Yep.
It's like, do you know what? Kids playing games, I don't have a problem with, but like, do you know what? When it's constant and it's like all they talk about is goddamn Fortnite, I'm like, please, for the love of Christ.
It's when they just watch YouTube and don't play anything else that's annoying. It's like, dude, like these guys.
I feel like we're old men, like these damn kids and they damn video games.
Completely screwed. I don't know what they're going to talk about. So,
well, I just think Fortnite is just. It's a dishonorable mention because obviously the whole Battle Pass thing, and I think also the culture it spawned around it is a big reason why we've included it. It doesn't matter if we like it or not. Like, I don't think Fortnite's a terrible game. If I'm being honest with you, like if we're looking at strictly from a gameplay mechanic and looking at straight from a game perspective, it's not a terrible game. It's not a bad game by any regard at all. It's the culture that surrounds it which is the terrible part. It's the same thing as the Sonic fandom, right? Is that Sonic itself isn't terrible. The fandom around it, on the other hand, is a completely different story, and that's the same with Fortnite, and that's why it's included.
Yeah, that's
and also because of the Battle Pass thing and how it spawned the whole cancerous shit around it. But yeah, I think that's really about it for the dishonorable mentions. And I think that is our last category and the last thing for us to talk about. But yeah, thank you everybody so much for tuning into our. Hang on, let me just swap the panel back again. But thank you everybody who tuned into our podcast, our first ever podcast. We really do appreciate everybody for checking us out. We definitely will be doing these on a weekly basis because we wanted to. Yeah, we'll try to anyway because we wanted to. But yeah, you can check out our Twitter. We'll post any new content that we're putting out on there, any new videos that are coming out and whatnot. But yeah, thank you everybody who watched our stuff. We'll be back next week basically with the new subjects. We'll probably announce on Twitter what our new subject is, our new episode is. But yeah, thank you so much to everybody that watched our first ever podcast. I know it's not perfect, sorry about that, but we'll get better with it hopefully. So thank you so much to everybody. And any final closing words, Jacob?
Get the hell out.
Thanks. Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, I will talk to you. We will see you guys in the next one, I think.
Later.
Later.